Today we're having a look at Thomas Ramos' goal kicking technique based off the 10 pillars. We're also going to find out why the 3 best kickers in France are all using the exact same tee, the RB Vortex low cut. One of the big secrets I think to Ramos' goal kicking technique is pillar number 8, where we talk about compression. The position and the strength that he gets into at the time of impact is really impressive. His follow through is pretty short and sharp, but there's a lot of reasons on why this is successful for him. He's one of the best goal kickers in the world right now, so let's jump into the review.
Starting with pillar number 1, which is mindset. Ramos is Mr. Cool, calm and collected, not letting anything really faze him during games. Visually, he always looks the same, whether it's a game-winning kick or at training, he's practicing and getting his timing and feel for that week. Pillar number 2 is ball setup, and straight away we can see that Thomas really kicks with a pretty upright ball on the tee. He's got the valve at the front, and if anything, the top of the ball slightly tilts out towards the right. This just really helps a kicker that has a natural right to left. It just straightens the ball up a touch so that doesn't turn into a big hook. Thomas is a very consistent goal kicker, and having the ball slightly more upright is always giving him that nice ball flight and straighter backspin. That's why we often see kickers start to stand the ball up later in their career, because it leads for a much straighter ball flight and more consistent ball flight rather than leaning it forward chasing extra distance. Pillar number 3 is long target. So what does Thomas aim for? If we draw a line down the seams of the ball, you can see exactly where he's wanting to start the kick out, so just inside that right upright. Now remember, this is the place you want to start the kick, so the starting line of your ball flight. The reason I really like this target for right foot kickers that always get a little draw is if you kick the ball straight, ball goes over. If you get your normal draw, ball goes over and it comes back to the middle of the post. And if you do hook the ball just a touch, the ball does just sneak inside that left upright. So starting the ball down the right channel, as I call it, is a great place to aim for right foot kickers. Pillar number 4 is about your approach. So how do you get to the back of your mark, but then how do you arrive up at the ball and get into towards the ball? What's your energy doing? Now Thomas is like a robot. He's so efficient with how he gets towards the ball. I love visually how this looks. So his feet are at the ball, his hips are at the ball, his chest at the ball, his head's at the ball. All that energy is going forwards toward the ball, and you can make it really consistent on your approach as you're coming in to get in that same place every time you arrive at the ball.
Before I jump into pillar number 5, where I talk about Thomas's rodeo arm, if you'd like me to get through a review of your very own kicking technique, where you send me videos I go through step by step and review and help you build a really bulletproof technique, just comment the word review below. I'll send you a DM straight into your inbox and we can take it from there. Right, back to talking about this rodeo arm.
I measure rodeo arm with 3 different areas. So what happens pre-impact, at the time of impact, and then post the kick. What is your rodeo arm doing and how is it contributing towards the kick? So pre-impact, this rodeo arm is above the shoulder, which is giving us a nice little bit of energy. It's also helping create this epic backswing on Thomas's kicking technique. Now at the time of impact, we want this rodeo arm lining up directly parallel to the ground, but also lining up with your target, which is for Thomas, that right channel just inside the right upright. And then post-kick, how good's that? The ball lining up with his target line, coming across the body. Now this does look like it's chopping down a little bit, but because it's extended and because he's getting through the kick so well, there's no issue with this. Just as we're talking about rodeo arm, this here is a great example of committing to your starting line. So we've got a massive wind coming from this direction that's going to blow the ball right to left. So by committing to that line, he starts the ball out to the right, the wind takes care of it, plus ball flight, ball goes through the middle. But I do just want to show what's happening with Thomas's rodeo arm through this kick. Pre-impact looking really strong, so that's a great position for that rodeo arm to be in. At the time of impact, lining up with that target line. So remember, this here's the target line. This rodeo arm needs to be saying, this here is where I need to get to. That's where I want to start my ball. And in the post-impact, you can actually see Thomas using his rodeo arm just for a little bit longer there, just to keep him engaged and keep him balanced. That's why rodeo arm is so important. It's the key to staying balanced and controlling momentum through kicks. Just watch this kick one more time and just look at his rodeo arm and what happens after impact. That is why you need to be aware of what your rodeo arm is doing. Pillar number 6 is plant foot. Let's see what angle this is landing on. There's target line, and you'd say that his foot is slightly angled in. This here's my 30-degree angle that I always see turning up with pro kickers. Their plant foot is landing at 30 degrees angled in towards the ball. For a while there it was coached that your plant foot has to line up with your target line, but from what I've seen and what I've learned, that just isn't true with most pro kickers. Agree that if our plant foot is too far to the right, we're going to start pushing a lot of kicks. But as kickers, our plant foot loves to land in this position with this angle. I'm pretty sure it's because we've got these ball and socket joints, and our human body just likes to feel that, and we feel more comfortable and balanced coming in there from our approach, landing with our 30-degree angle. And from the side-on view, I really like how Thomas lands, like his plant foot is directly in the midline of the kicking tee. As we'll discuss in kicking foot and also momentum, this gets him into a really strong, consistent position to put plenty of power through the ball. One thing that I have started to notice on kickers that use slightly higher kicking tees is that they start to land further back from the ball. This just gives us a little bit more room. There's more clearance for our kicking foot to get through. So if you are back from this a touch, that's absolutely fine as well. Number 7 is kicking foot, and it's coming from a fantastic place. Like, look how far back that is. All that energy is going to arrive up at the ball. In that strong position, we're going to have plenty of power in our foot. And at the time of impact, bang, look at that strong leg, the hips are nice and tall, like plenty of compression happened, which we're about to get into. But that angle of the foot is perfect, lined up with the kicking leg, plantar flexed hard foot. That is a strong kicking foot and exactly what we want. Pillar number 8 is compression. So how strong are we at the time of impact? It's almost like a sound effect. If you were to go, get really strong or throw a punch, it's that time that we want all the power in all the right places. And as we have a look at Thomas's goal kicking technique, he gets everything right. So at the time of impact, we've got power coming from Rodeo Arm, so lined up with his target. His core's nice and strong. If you have a look at that hip position, it's almost like that gym thrust. We've got the barbell, like using your hips for energy. Kicking leg is strong, everything's in the right angle, and as we just showed with kicking foot, like all the energy and power from his backswing and his body and his head is all going through the ball. As you get older and do more reps, you start to learn that all this compression comes from this fantastic backswing, taking that position all the way up to the ball and then putting that power that you just stored through the ball. Like, this is compression and feeling that kick. When you get this right, that's when kicking can start feeling effortless. Number 9 is momentum, so I draw a line through the ball and through the tee and then half a metre in front of this. So how well does Thomas get through this space will be how well he wins momentum. So we get into that big strong compression point. His nose and head is directly over the ball, which is fantastic. And through that half metre, Thomas's eyes only start to come up now that he's through that half metre. If anything, I'd love him to stay in the kick just for slightly longer, but he's an experienced kicker. He knows what feels good, and that's why he's coming out looking now. So number 9 and now pillar number 10, so momentum and stay in the kick, is easy to get right at training, but how well can you do it in a game? Let's check out Thomas's kick here. Gets his compression right, stays in the kick. This is as high as Thomas's kicking foot gets, but you can see that his eyes are still down in the kick. This is staying in the kick, keeping that compression feel. In a game where pressure is on, this here is where you need to get to as a kicker. So he gets that right, and then he gets the outcome of the ball going through the sticks. One thing that you might say is Thomas's kicking leg doesn't get through that high in the follow through. This is about as high as it gets in his follow through. Often we see kickers up around hip height. Why this works is when we take it back, as he gets that big, strong, powerful position here, which means that follow through can just take care of itself. Thomas doesn't want to be a long range kicker. He just wants to kick everything inside 50 meters, which is why he's gone for a consistent technique over a power technique. We've seen 3 amazing kickers all using the same kicking tee, the RB Vortex low cut. Why is that? Like I've pointed out with Thomas, if you want to be consistent, the low cut is a great place to start. It has the ball just up off the ground, so you get all that goodness of the sweet spot, but your ball flights are slightly lower because you're using a lower kicking tee, meaning all you're doing is chasing consistency. I love my time over in France, in Toulouse, working with Thomas and a couple of the other French players. This is a guy that young kickers should be trying to copy. He's Mr. Consistent, there's no wasted energy, and a kicking routine and technique you should be trying to emulate.
If you've got any questions of what we just covered and the 10 pillars of goal kicking, make sure you drop a comment and I'll come back to you.